Welcome.
Hello, my name is Kate. I'm the founder of Here Now Forward. This is our first conversation between creators and culture, and I could not think of a more perfect guest. Today we have the fabulous Jaxx Michele. Everyone, hands together.
Hello.
Literally the most exciting artist on my radar right now. Jaxx crafts sensual alternative R&B shaped by deep passion and a boundless heart. Their sound invites listeners to connect to shared experiences of vulnerability, intimacy, and devotion through warm vocals and self-curated sound. Jaxx invites fellow yearners and lovers into their world in their latest EP called Heart on Lock. Just came out
Yeah.
this week. So I'm so glad we could get into your busy schedule and talk about this. So, welcome, Jaxx.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here and talk more.
Amazing. I'm loving the look. Very feline, very fierce.
Thank you.
Yes. I just love what you're doing on a visual, holistic level. You're a world builder. It is really interesting how visual humans are and how that does impact how we receive sound. And
hmm
how has that fueled your output? When you think of your songs, does the image come with it, or does it kind of come before or after, or is it developed during?
The image definitely comes after once the songs are all put together. It's like you said, it's such a big part of how people are receiving your sound. It's such a big part of how people are able to take in what you have to offer. And I feel like I'll get visualizations. I'm like, okay, this is what the cover art needs to look like. I need it to be this. I need it to be these colors. Like, I've done so much world building, and especially with this EP in particular, of what it feels like, and what I want other people to feel when they're listening to it. So I feel like I create the music first, and then the visuals ideas come afterwards.
Mm. And tell me about Red and what that
Yes.
means to you right now and in the context of this project.
So currently in like via the app, the pattern, I'm in my activating my power time of my life. And the photo that went along with that message was red.
Mm.
Also, my boyfriend's favorite color is red. So I've
Mm.
just been very influenced by the color red. It's came into my life, flooding into my life. I'm like,
Mm.
what does this color mean to me? It's so powerful and it makes me feel so empowered and also sensual, sultry, sexy. It makes me feel so in touch with my divine feminine. It makes me feel so good about my person and firm in who I am and what I have to show off.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's such a confidence color too.
Mm-hmm.
I love how it pops and I love how it grabs people's attention and it grabs my attention. And it's just a color that sticks with you. It's very empowering and it feels great to wear, great to embellish my person with, great
Mm-hmm.
to embellish my music with.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a powerful color that I want to be a through line in all of my visuals for sure, without a doubt.
Mm. Mm. That definitely comes through. And that's really exciting, honestly, that you have that through line. The visuals kind of coming after the songs, as you said, but with this red as an undercurrent for what kind of the whole year, because if I'm correct, the For You covers red. So
It's
is
also
that kind of
red.
when it started?
Yes, that's when it started.
Cool. Cool, cool, cool. And also, I think another thing about Red, to pivot a little bit into the Sonics, it really does encapture the saturation and the powerful, but then you, even through, you say, your discography over 2025, even though you have Red as the through line, you're quite cool in how you express. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And
Yeah.
honestly, in a way, that's kind of pushing the envelope because when we talk about suppression of our voices and our emotions and
Yeah.
our inner states, it can kind of be like this nonchalance of what's cool. But here you are in
Hmm.
red, powerful, very straightforward and direct and very much loving, but also
Yes.
so cool. So I think red, it really wraps the whole package together in a way that really resonates. Because I have the pleasure of knowing you on a personal level. I was just completely like blown away by how effective this project, Hard on Lock, was at conveying the complexity that you are.
Mm.
So let's talk about the project, shall we?
Let's talk about it. I'm
So we have a
excited.
4-track EP, Hard on Lock. We have 4 titles. They're all lowercase, which I really liked that
Yes.
choice. And as an artist, what I'm seeing from you that is quite impressive is the way that you have your hand in different sub genres or even just completely different kind of worlds or flavors
Mm.
of expression, but are
Mm.
able to blend them together. I'm saying this all to say you really can maneuver your way through different music community, different subgenres, we can call it that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the seamless maneuvering and incorporation is done almost so subtly that you like could miss it because there's so much of you in it, but you are touching so many different points from rock to like acoustic music to acoustic percussion to like almost a Toronto alternative R&B sound and then like like 808 and sexy R&B.
Yeah. I've been told before, I remember one of my friends, after I played them a track, they said, all of your music sounds so different. Like, how are you able to go from here to here? But there's still a through line. It's still me at the end of the day.
You're a self curated sound, right? That's
Yes.
kind of part of what you do, self curated. So, what does it mean to you to be a creator who curates your sound? And can you tell us what is that process like?
That means I am taking a life experience and I'm taking a current feeling and I'm translating that sonically. And I'm getting as specific as possible. And I feel like when I've created songs like Nine Lives or even my latest EP, it's all me in this current feeling of creating what feels good without any boundaries and translating those feelings sonically. And
Mm,
to me, what does it mean to be a curator of sound? It means to have a very big responsibility of being able to translate these feelings and experiences and to evoke feelings in listeners. It's such a beautiful thing to be able to do, and it's such a beautiful gift to be able to have, to evoke such feelings and for others to find experiences that are relatable to my own through my music is so special to me, and it means so much to me that people are able to do such a thing. And I think it's very powerful. It's so powerful. It's like seismic that we as creators can curate such a specific sound
mm,
that's aligned with life experiences, whether you're telling stories that are yours or others. Personally, I only speak to my current life experiences, like present or past, but usually my current. I think that it's so incredibly powerful to be able to translate those things and be able to listen through it via music.
mm,
Um, so to me, it means holding the responsibility of the storyteller and the storyteller that is able to take these stories and make them into music in a tangible, intangible form that people can then take in for themselves. And I think that's so beautiful and so lovely. that we're able to experience such things. And it just makes me happy, honestly. It's such a relief to put a project out into the world and be like, I've made this, I've curated these sounds, I've curated this sound in particular, and to be able to share with others and then release
Mm.
is such an amazing feeling.
Well,
Yeah.
congratulations for that.
Thank you.
This is a big deal. What did you say? Seismic? I think that's an amazing way to put it. I love also how you said you're taking these experiences that you have and you're putting it into tangible, intangible form.
Hmm.
It just so speaks to your level of attention to detail while also capacity to deliver on the big picture. You know, if you
Mm.
have these ideas, you're saying is your responsibility to translate into this tangible, intangible form of music, the production itself, to be able to communicate is specific. And what level do you go into the rabbit hole for sound design versus a draft of a form? Sound design versus arrangement. And what is that timeline when you have such a specific expression to communicate? Where do you put
Hmm.
your attention and your focus?
I definitely think it's a combination of both. For Hard on Lock, I went through over 100 kicks just trying to find the right one.
At what point in the process? Was this when you started, or is this after you have a form?
This is after I have the form and the song was basically done. I still felt unsatisfied with the production, specifically the kick. It just wasn't hitting hard enough for me. And I went through kicks. I stayed up till 4 a.m. just going through kicks over and over again on Splice and on Reddit, seeing what I could find, what fit it sonically, and making sure that the colors match. And I
Mm.
think that's the biggest thing. I was just in a master class the other day with Jenny Ortiz, who's this audio engineer who's based in LA and has a lot of amazing credits. And she had mentioned colors and different compressors adding different colors,
Mm.
which is something that I tend to when I'm in my mixing phase, as well as in the sound design phase. Um, and when it came to Hard on Lock, I spent so much time trying to find the correct kick that would convey and express what I wanted to. And it comes to a certain point where I have to pause myself and say, okay, I think we've found some great viable options and we just have to make a choice. And
Mm.
sometimes that choice feels huge.
Mm.
It's like if I make one choice, people will receive this one way versus another choice, people will receive it another way. And it came down to just trusting my ear, trusting my intuition when I create music. And I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to my creation process is trusting my intuition. And also to go back to, you said like arrangement, I'm definitely thinking of things from an arrangement point of view. Because some of these tracks I did not produce, other people produce. I had my hands on Hard on Lock in the intro, but the other tracks are produced by other producers. I would chop up the tracks to arrange them in a way that made sense for me and my songwriting process. And yeah, the arrangement process is so important to me. And I know when I have to take breaks, I know when I have to pause. But generally, the ideas come together quite fast. It's like this, and I know a lot of people in the spiritual world say downloads, but it's like a download. It happens so fast. I open up the track, the ideas start flowing, the lyrics come together, the melodies are flooding my head, and I just have to get it out. I have
Mm.
to express it. I have to sing. I have to use my instrument in the way it was designed for. Um, the melody comes, then comes the lyrics,
Mm.
and then everything is stitched together, and I make sure everything is cleaned up in a nice bow. But I definitely, when I am on the production side of things, being very intentional about the sounds that I choose and thinking how listeners are going to receive them and how they're going to feel when they're listening to like a kick that bumps versus a kick that kind of sits in the background or a
Mm,
kick that is just there to keep time,
mm,
different things like that. And I want my kicks to bump. I want people to be like, yeah, this feels good. And I want it to feel good. So I think I'm very intentional when it comes to my sound design as well as my arrangement. But above all, when I am creating, I'm creating first for myself and then second for others. I'm creating from a place of meeting my own satisfaction and my own desires and what I want to create. And then I'm thinking of others and how they will receive my music. And I feel like that's such a freeing process just to be able to create without bounds and restrictions and create to my own satisfaction, which can sometimes meet no end, but eventually there is a close to
mm.
that. The chapter closes.
Is that true?
Yes.
That's great. And
Yeah.
how, and what is that? It's just a feeling, it's a knowing. And sometimes does that come after you may have overworked it and you may go back to a simpler, earlier version?
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's like I've gone so far out with this idea, we just kind of have to bring it back
Yeah,
home
yeah,
and ground it in what originally felt good
yeah.
versus trying to chase an idea of what it could be, just letting it be what it is.
Mm. How have you developed in that, I would say, artistic maturity as time has gone by and as you've released music? Has it always been the same amount of struggle or the same amount of ease, or does it vary? Or has it been kind of an upward slope?
I think it's been an upward slope. It's definitely been a matter of two things. It's been a matter of not making music for musicians and not comparing myself to other musicians that I admire. I think there are things that I still struggle with from time to time, but it doesn't plague me as much as it used to. Like, it doesn't plague me at all. They're just thoughts that pass and come and go.
Mm,
And I think once I mastered being able to know that my path looks different from everyone else's, everything is already written. I'm just following the path that I'm creating slash that was created for me, knowing that when I'm creating music, I'm not thinking of other musicians or other producers that I'm trying to impress. I'm creating music as expression of self. I'm creating music
mm,
to share my stories and my life experiences. I'm creating music because it's the most authentic expression of myself. It's the most authentic way that I can express myself, and it's the most inherent way that I can express self. And I feel like once I came to those realizations, I was able to create more freely. And it's definitely, like I said, still from time to time, I find myself comparing to another artist, but then I ground myself in knowing that our paths are different. We are different people, and we are just people, and that's okay.
what I just heard from you there is taking your divinity, the intangibility, your expression, your feeling, intangible, and making it tangible. And that is what is so relieving about the release. And that is what really just totally balances, not even balances, just throws off the scale when it comes to fulfillment versus maybe mental struggles, because the whole process is, I want to honestly say, like a divine dance, but it's just bigger than,
Mm.
it's just bigger than being just a human. But to allow yourself to just be human is really the only way that you really can effectively participate in that dance.
Yeah.
So, what about, you spoke about collaboration and how that has been a major aspect of this EP. Obviously, you can do it all and you do it all. And how has your involvement with collaboration with your art, how has that grown through this project? And how has that benefited you? And maybe what have you learned about your process through that?
Mm. I remember early days in college, I learned how to produce, mix, do everything right for myself because I felt and I believed that no one was capable of expressing my ideas like I did, which to some extent is still true, but it looks completely different for me now. It took a lot of breaking down my own walls to be able to let other people in my creative process because it is so sacred to me and it's so intimate. It took a while to allow myself to open up to the idea of collaboration and allow that to be something that can excite me.
Mm-hmm.
I met this producer via a former friend online, and her and I would have weekly calls just on Zoom or FaceTime, talking and sharing music with each other. And once we kind of figured out our compatibility just as people, then we started creating together. And everything started to flow. It was just magical seeing how our sounds were in alignment, our colors were in alignment, and our intention was in alignment. And it was such a beautiful thing to be able to bear witness to. And after experiencing that, I just thought to myself, wow, there are other people that can express the ideas that I have. And also, there are ideas that I will never have and I don't have access to. So, being able to tap into someone else and to share ideas with each other, that is, again, powerful. I keep coming back to this word, but it's so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it just makes the sound all the more better and it does the music justice to be able to give it the creativity that it deserves.
Mm-hmm.
On the other end of that, my other experience with collaborating with producers that have pre-made tracks, that was a new experience for me that I've never done before. And my intention with that was I told myself, I really just want to focus on being an artist and writing my music. I want to sing, I want to write, I want to engineer. That is all that I want to do at this time. I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel called to produce, and I don't want to force it either.
Totally.
So was fortunate enough to be introduced to XO Davy, and he hooked me up with some great music that I absolutely love and adore. And the ideas just came together with ease. And that's how I know it was in an alignment for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
huge. And you said earlier it was so powerful to witness this process. And I think that really speaks to your sense of being in service to the music because you would not have been able to witness those things if you felt like you knew exactly how the music wanted to come into the world because the music knew.
Mm,
That's really exciting. I think it's a huge breakthrough moment for you to say, you know what, I am great at many things and I want to focus on writing, singing, engineering because we only have so much energy, right?
right.
And to allow yourself to be energized by other people, that really builds up the quality instead of pushing yourself through with the greatest intentions of being of service to the music. But the music asks you to kind of surrender and witness how it allows you to be in service to it and have a divine dance with it.
Right.
Yeah. And I also think it really speaks to humans are we're meant to be in packs and community and
Right.
tribal and villages and
Right.
it's music is a universal shared language and we have we have a whole world inside of us, but then there's also a whole world outside. to connect with and
Right.
to experience things with. So that's
Right.
great. Heart Unlock, this amazing EP that just dropped. I want to talk about you just have this skill for arrangement, and I'm wondering at what point do you start with the intros and then you build the track, or does the track kind of inform the intro?
I would say it definitely depends on the track. Like Sweat Dripping, the chorus came first because the chorus was just the first part of the track. So I was like, okay, we're gonna hit it off with the chorus. Let's go for it. I got it. But I am an intro person. I love intros. I feel like they're such an important part to a song, and they just introduce the feeling of the song, the vibe of the song, the theme of the song, and they're so important. They're something that I do love and adore. And with Savor You in particular, when I first heard that sample, I was like, I'm gonna work with this and start to build a story. And I wanted to build a story of someone that has these intense feelings for another, wanting to savor them, wanting to praise them, someone being their savior, but at the same time, it's like there's this distance between them. And it's like, let's
Mm-hmm.
break the distance.
Mm.
Why does there have to be this distance between us? Why is there this friction? Let's find the resolve and let's be together how we intend to, how we're meant to, how we are this magnetic pull towards each other. It's just how we're meant to be. So that sample inspired all of my songwriting for that entire song. And it was so cool to be able to work
Mm.
with.
Yeah, it just feels like such a foundation of that song, and you can tell before the song comes in. But then when the song comes in, it's just like, wow, like it was just so well done. So kudos to you on that. That's might be my favorite song on the project, but it can change on the day. So keeping it on the vocal production, you really are like excelling in this call and response lead chorus interplay you have going on. Does the kind of call and response aspects of your vocal songwriting come with the songwriting or does it come after?
I would say that it comes after
Hmm.
because I'm not thinking of BGVs when I'm writing. I'm just thinking of like what is this feeling that I want to convey? What does it sound like? How does it feel? And like what is my harmony? And then when I go to the BGVs, naturally that call and response, it just comes to me, honestly. And even you pointing it out, I'm like, oh, that is something that I do. But it just feels so natural to my person to want to do.
So, what about these lush string arrangements as well? Same question.
I think in strings, whenever I'm thinking of production, strings are one of the first instruments that I'm thinking of. Or even when I just hear sounds in my head, a lot of times they sound like strings. And I have such a deep love for strings and listening to movie scores. I absolutely adore them. So strings are something that I just feel naturally drawn to, and I always want to express and include in my music, even if it's in a sprinkle kind of way. Um, it just is something that feels very natural to my person.
That makes sense. And that's just really exciting because they're so effective. You're pretty comfortable on keys and you write through that? Or is it
Yeah,
more?
I feel pretty comfortable with my keys, with like playing chords, building chord progressions. That's how I would create when I'm going to produce a song. I'd usually like start off with chords.
That's huge. Do you want to talk about the rebrand?
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Okay, Jax, your visual and sonic expression has really evolved into a very mature and well packaged brand that is passionately cool. What did it take to arrive at that point?
It took lots of, as you were mentioning earlier, world building and thinking of what does my world look like? What are the different colors? What's the color palette to my world? visually, what does it look like and how do I want to portray my music visually? And it got to a certain point where I was not identifying with my projects of the past anymore, nor did I want to be associated with those projects as people's favorite songs or as like one of my number one songs. It
Mm.
just didn't resonate with me anymore. I thought it was very beautiful and beautifully done in the time in which it was created, but it didn't feel accurate, nor did I feel connected to it, and it didn't speak to my current experience. And of course, it wouldn't because it was such a long time ago in which I created those songs. Um, but it didn't feel necessary for that music as well as that image to be a part of my story anymore. It
Mm.
felt like I was moving in a new direction and I needed new visuals, a new image, new color palette to be able to express that. And I needed to purge to be able to get to where I am now.
If you could go back and have the songs but not have put them out, would you have done that?
Like just have the songs for
But not have put
myself.
them out, yeah. Because I was thinking at what point or to what extent did that get you here? Obviously, it did impact, it's part of your journey to get here. But would it have been such an arrival of where you are now without needing to like leave that station? Do you know what I'm saying? Rather
Mm-hmm.
than like, okay, that's cool, but I still want to, you're still kind of on the same track of evolution, but how big a part is like the having it on the platforms in your psyche? How much did
Hmm.
that impact your journey having it and then not having it or making that decision?
I think growing in public got me to where I am now. Because if I had just created that music and it stayed on my laptop, I don't think that I would have been in the current position that I'm in. I think, however, my life would look like as a creator, it would look completely different because my first EP, Fruition, was such a big part of me and such a big part of my identity at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine others not being able to receive that at that time. And I also feel like it shows my authenticity and my openness and my vulnerability because I know a lot of artists like to grow in private, which I completely respect. But I think for me, it was important for me to release that music so I could know what I can get to. How can I advance? How can I progress? I think if I did those things in private, again, I wouldn't have gotten to the point that I'm at today, and I wouldn't have been able to see myself and perceive myself in the ways that I needed to.
Mm.
And I think that it would have felt very uncomfortable putting myself out there now because it wasn't something that I was doing in practice.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't have been a part of my routine versus now I'm like, okay, I have a song, I'm going to release it. I have a song, I'm going to release it, and I'm going to have these visuals alongside with it. So I think it would have stunted my progression in my artistry, honestly. Um, so I think that it was important for me to release it. And even though that I've taken all of that music off of streaming now, I think it served its purpose.
Yeah. Beautiful. So well said. And I'm so happy to hear that and happy for you. And
Thank you.
yeah, it's huge. It's so exciting and it's such a success. And you're able to be there and be with it and feel it and not make it bigger than it is or not make it smaller than it is. It's very exciting. And the process of exposing yourself to the world helped you orient yourself, locate yourself in the world, and then be able to see where you wanted to go, being there now, look back, see how and where you've traveled.
Yeah. And I think it's a saying like you have to know where you've came from and like where you've been to know where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like that I also connect with that when it comes to my music. I know where I've been, and because I know where I've been and I know where I come from and what my roots are sonically, I know where I can go.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think talking about knowing where your roots come from sonically, how do you integrate yourself into conversation with things that might have influenced you in a way that feels like you are adding or you're participating in the conversation rather than which you do. You know, you have a voice, you have a narrative, you have a world. But as someone who's curating sounds from inside you, they're also informed by the world in which you live. So, is there an intention of being in conversation with these other musical artists, or does that come after you're able to listen to kind of the finished project and then see where it might be able to be in conversation?
I think with this project in particular, with Heart on Lock, this was the first time that, and I usually have influences that I listen to while I'm creating. So, but this was the first time that I really thought to myself, I'm going for a specific sound versus I'm going to let it sound however it wants to.
Mm.
I really went tunnel vision and I listened to artists like K1, Sasha Keeble, Isaiah Falls, Kehlani, Destin Conrad, Ombre, and as my brother calls them, the Avengers of R&B.
Real.
They really inspired me with this project and inspired me to push myself to be more tunnel vision, to have a more specific sound.
Mm.
Because before everything felt very experimental and kind of out there. And I didn't have a problem with that. I thought that that was very beautiful and abstract. But I wanted to have some likeness, some familiarity. I wanted to have some more groundedness that people could find bits and pieces of myself in others and in themselves. So I feel like this is the first time in which I was very specific about the inspirations that I was pulling from. So my music can be very much in the conversation, very much in talks, and very much connected to those other artists because they inspired the art.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. When you're really committing to where you are, that is when you can really get to the next level in expression and how it resonates. It can be so, especially as a music lover, you can be like, I'm one with everything. Like, I can resonate with all of these different genres. And that can be
Hmm.
true while you're embodying a certain lane. Because then you're really in the conversation.
Yeah.
So, to close this amazing conversation off, is there any message you would like to share with the fellow yearners out there?
Lust and love can coexist, and the right person will co-create with you a mature love. And that love will be earth-shattering and will change and redefine your definition of love entirely, and it will free you.
Jaxx Michele, everybody. Jaxx, thank you so much for being in conversation here on Here Now Forward. And congratulations on the EP, Heart on Lock, fresh
Thank you.
out. It has been such a pleasure talking with you about this. And I'm just so excited to be bear witness to your journey as an artist and to be able to listen to this great music.
Thank you for having me. It's been a joy.